Another one of my very boring videos. I'm suffering with arthritis today, so I'm just sitting here looking at an inner tube I repaired. Here's the message. I for some reason last month had a bout of energy. Unusual for me to have any energy, but I cycled 500 miles in June, which was twice as far as I've ever done before. And something happened that made me think it could be a useful warning for other people. I had two punctures. One was a tire wall collapse, which you can see another video there, and one was when I changed the tire. The next day or the day after, I got a total flat with a new tire, and something had pierced the tire and put a pinhole in the tube. Now I've never had an actual puncture on the road, and luckily I did carry a tube because of the sidewall issue. But I've done many fairly long rides in the mountains, 30, 40 miles in the middle of nowhere, without tubes, and I've been very lucky. So I had to change a tube on the edge of the road in the pouring rain at dusk, and I realised that I was a long way from home. Well, a long way. I was 15 miles from home, which would have taken me 3 miles an hour with a bike, 5 hours to walk home if I'd had to walk. Didn't have my phone with me. I don't take my phone when I go cycling. I like to get away from it all. And luckily, changing the inner tube wasn't easy. I got the tire off, and the valve wasn't long enough, and I had a micro pump, a little pump thing, and I couldn't get it on the valve to pump it up. Eventually, I figured it out, but it took 20 minutes to get done, and I had to ride back on like a half-inflated tire. So, to cut a long story short, it is absolutely essential that if you're cycling any distance more than maybe 5-6 miles from home, so it's like a 12-15 mile cycle round trip, any more than that, any more than it's going to take you like half an hour to walk home, you must carry inner tubes, and you must learn how to change an inner tube, and you must carry a valve removing key and a pump and the ancillary bits that you need to change an inner tube. Now, you cannot do this really on the road. It takes 20 minutes, half an hour at least for the glue to adhere properly to actually patch it. So it's no use carrying a puncture kit. That's not going to help you. You must carry inner tubes. I would suggest on any kind of long trip carrying at least 2 inner tubes, and also practice changing them. Practice getting the tire off. Use a tire. I had a Continental Grand Prix 4000, I think, and it was relatively easy to change because it was quite a big rim. It was quite easy to squeeze it, pinch it, and get it off and get it on. So get to know how to do that. Get to understand valves. Let's look at this valve. This tire has a built-in long valve. I think it's a 60, it might even be an 80. But, there's the core. And if you've ever put sealant in, the sealant might have, it's unlikely you would put sealant in a spare tube, so that's not a problem. But get to know how to remove those valves with a key, and just practice changing them and working with them. And because when the chips are down, if it's pouring rain, if it's getting late in the day, you're not going to have any margin for error. You've got to know what you're doing. So there you go. That's just a little bit of a heads up from a real world experience that I had last week.